Hey, everybody, welcome back to Conversations in Ken's Cafe. I'm your host, Ken Somerville. We have a very special guest, someone that I haven't ran into, but I ran into her boss almost 20 years ago. I purchased a book and a video set for Quantum Touch. Now, Jennifer, I'm going to let you explain more about it. I've given people a little bit of an idea on what Quantum Touch is over the past few years, just touching on it here and there. But you're the CEO behind Quantum Touch. So I'd like you to explain it a little bit. And then I'd like to hear a little bit about your story on how you got involved with Quantum Touch.
All right, great. Well, I'll dive right in. So, quantum touch is a form of energy healing, working with hands on healing work or distant healing. And energy healing is sometimes a little bit mysterious because I don't think we fully understand how energy actually works. But I believe that everything is energy, meaning that everything embodies life force energy, kind of like in Star Wars, where use the force. So there's this animating current of all life, right? And I believe that even what we view as inanimate objects may contain energy as well, like rocks or
They
walls or
do.
homes. Right,
Yep.
right. So everything has kind of an energy and a consciousness to it. And so what we do is we use that energy, we amplify that energy, we work with that energy to accelerate healing. And here's another thing. So this life force energy, this energy, the force, what is this really? And I believe it's love. Love is the basis of everything. So love in different forms, different frequencies of love. And I believe it's sourced, it's supernatural. It's not of this earth. It's sourced from what I call spirit, God, all that is. So we bring in this spiritual energy and disease or other things like that are just a disturbance in the force. And so we use that energy to facilitate healing. And when things are balanced and whole and in love and light, that's when your body starts to see healing. That's true healing because you're healing on a soul level. So,
Mm-hmm.
just in a nutshell, that's the mechanism behind energy healing.
Okay, and for you guys that don't understand that energy is everywhere, I'm actually just about to get into a book by Robert Temple about oh gosh, now it's slipping my mind, but it is the source energy, plasma is what they're talking, and it's between any molecule out there, even the water molecules, which are the smallest entities that we really know of. There is space, and plasma is there. So you're talking the love energy. I believe, like I call it myself, source or source energy. And it is tapped into by that love that we have. Without that, I don't think we could actually access it, because you can't. Well, you probably could, but you couldn't use it for good things. You'd be using it for evil. But Jennifer, how did you get involved with Quantum Touch? Like I found it almost 20 years ago. Um, how long have you been with Robert, and how did you find Quantum Touch in the first place?
Well, let's see. I've been with Quantum Touch for 23 years now.
Okay.
So, long time, right? And here's how I discovered it. So, I got a degree in computer science and I started my job as a software engineer developing software. And I realized it was the most boring thing in the world. Like every problem just looked the same. Logic can be kind of boring, right? It's very process oriented.
Yeah.
And I was tired of it. Like 1 year into my career, I'm like, this cannot be my life. I can't imagine doing this for another 30, 40 years. And so I went to massage school and I had moved to Maui. I was working as a software engineer on Maui and I went to massage school and I said, I'm looking for something else to do. So I started like working with people and doing massage and body work. And then like I started, we were doing body work every day and I started to feel something underneath my hands. It kind of felt like thick, or and I'd put my hand above the person's body and I could feel there's something here, And
Yeah.
the question is this? And God or source or whatever you want to call it said, this energy can help heal people, and this is your true purpose. This is your life work. And whenever we get a message from God or source, it usually seems a little bit on the outlandish side, because I was used to
Yep.
nice income from software, right? It was an easy, money. And I said, well, God, nobody makes any money doing this. This is just, I mean, this is hippies and dropouts, right? Like, I'm not going to be able to pay rent doing this, So I had a kind of an opinion of what energy healing and who, did energy healing, especially 23 years ago, when
Mhm.
it was a really fringe type of thing. And so after I got that download from Spirit, I went to a lecture on energy healing by Richard Gordon, who's the founder of Quantum Touch. Got another message from Spirit who said, and you need to work for this company. And I said, all right, this is getting absolutely absurd, because first of all, I don't even know this Richard dude, right? Second, like,
Yep.
how can I convince somebody I don't know that I'm now going to work for his company, which I don't even know if he's looking for someone to work for his company. Anyways, a whole series of synchronicities happened. I ended up now working with Quantum Touch, and I've been doing this 23 years. So
Mhm.
it's been an amazing journey, a huge learning edge, and yeah, it's just life force energy is like the basis of everything, and so learning to work with that is just ultimately important. So that's why I love it.
Well, and that's one of the things, like, I know myself, I had done Reiki before. I studied a bunch of stuff. When I was in my teens, I could literally walk into a crowd and I could feel who was in pain, because I would actually have the pain in my own body. Um, and it was just a progression to start understanding energy. But I know that if anybody's interested, Hands of Light, it was written by a woman that was a NASA scientist who started seeing auras, or the energy field around us. And she explains it quite well in her book as well, that this energy does exist and we can use it, especially like Jennifer, what you said, when it comes from the love energy inside of us as well. It's so important to help other people. And it's amazing you were guided to that interview where Richard was speaking, and you were able to connect with him. And you mentioned synchronicity. We talk a lot about that actually on this channel, because a lot of people have found when they need a teacher to guide them, all of a sudden the teacher shows up. Now, you guys do choruses, you've done choruses for decades teaching people. And I know when I originally took it, and I was watching some of the videos way back in the day on VHS tapes, uh, you were talking about children being more attuned to this because they don't have the blockages. How are you finding that now? Are you finding that some of the adults have less blockages? Are we opening up to this energy more and more now?
Oh yeah, I feel like despite what appears to be going on in the world right now, more and more people are open to this energy, right? Because it just, I think there's kind of an evolution of consciousness happening right now, where like, let's say the veil between like this side and the other side is getting thinner. Like you can feel more that things are energy, that things are consciousness, that your thoughts and your consciousness and what's going on in your heart like actually impacts this outer world. And I
Mm.
think more and more people are getting attracted to alternative healing. And I'm really feeling encouraged right now by just the number of people coming in into this type of work. And I think it's needed. I think people can need to feel that they have a power and influence over their reality, that they're not victims, that they can make changes. And so that's what I love too about energy healing, is that it gives people internal belief in their own power and their own ability to enact change.
Well, and it's important for people to understand that everybody can do this. All of humanity, our entire species, has this ability to connect and use this energy. It's so, wonderful in my heart that, you guys have managed to put this together and are promoting it, and more people are coming in. How do you think is, or I guess the best way to phrase this was, what's your best connection to new people?
Our best connection to new people. Well, we do a lot of online. I mean, especially after COVID, we started to do a lot more online. So a lot of people come in through like Google searches or just trying to find
Hmm.
something online. And so I've been working a lot on our SEO and our pay per click and just, fostering, that medium of email and online promotion. So that's
Yeah.
one way, and a very popular way that people can find out more about energy healing.
Well, and it's very important to understand that more and more people are looking at this because they are realizing that this energy does exist. We talk about a lot about this with gardening now as well. And people are finding more and more that understanding the energetic side is just as important as understanding the biology in the context of soil and growing plants. There is this energy that affects us. Think about the people that are creating Zen gardens to go and sit in. You're in Hawaii, so I'm sure there's quite a few Zen gardens around. Is that something you guys look at, is having places like that to be able to do what you're doing with for people, or are you just having it in a normal office?
I think you can do energy healing anywhere. And also, I believe that nature is really healing. So if you can get out and go hiking and connect with nature, it's a very healing energy. And then another thing to speak to, I don't know if you've seen those images and videos of people that talk to their plants. And they did a
Hmm.
study. Like one plant received really positive comments and it like really flourished, and then the other plant received negative comments and it didn't
Yep.
really do as well. So like just what you're saying to your plants and the energy, if you're sending them love, they'll do better. If you're sending them negative, I'm not sure why people would do that, but if you're sending like negative energy, or maybe you're just in a negative place and it's projecting outward,
Yep.
it's really can be seen with plants. And I think everything's wired for love. I mean, look at, our
Yeah.
pets and other people. We all kind of know what love is. And that's, again, the mechanism behind energy healing.
Well, and Dr. Yamamoto, and he actually has a protege that's into it now as well, but showing the glasses of water and rice, and the focusing the different energy. He showed how rice would turn black and scummy when it was given hate, and how it would be the sweetest rice wine with the positive energy. And so there's a lot of different examples scientifically now where this works. And we come a lot of the people that watch this program use medical cannabis for injuries and etc. And in that industry, because it is such a high value crop, or it was in the past anyway, they really noticed people going into the major grows that or were having a bad day. They would literally send them home because they were seeing the effects in these crops from that negative energy, and giving positive energy and being happy and joyful and bouncing around smiling had a positive effect on the plants. So you guys are working with the human energy, which is the abundant energy of everything. Like you said, even rocks have that energy. If you can influence that, in your plants and in your friends and your family, what would you say would be the overall benefit, Jennifer?
Oh my gosh. So with energy healing, I've seen a lot of different benefits. I mean, we've seen what we call miracles, right?
Mhm.
We've even termed them normicals because miracles kind of become almost normal with the energy
Yep.
healing. Um, it's really good to help facilitate pain relief. I've seen broken bones heal. We've had stories with cancer improving. I mean, you name it, we've seen it. And again, it's just the influence of love. Um, so like I believe, like with enough love, everything becomes whole, and
Mhm.
you don't really need to carry around all these physical issues like disease and other things. Like you can, it's like anything's possible. Like you can become whole, and I guess I've seen a lot of different things. So yeah, it's amazing.
Well, and there's so much that happens in our world that we don't want to understand, or we've been told that it's impossible. But like what you said, anything is possible. And I tell people that all the time, anything's possible. It may be unlikely, but it's not impossible. Not may not be happening here now in this dimension, but it doesn't mean it's not possible somewhere else in some other dimension. And science has proved that we exist in all these multiple dimensions at the same time now. So you never know what's actually possible. And where we're gathering this energy is in our own cells, but we're passing it through. So are you actually a healer, or are you just a conduit for that energy, Jennifer?
Oh, I think you're just a conduit for the energy. I don't think we can heal anyone else. Everyone does their own healing, but we can help facilitate it. Just like as Richard uses as an example, I can't digest your lunch, but I can give you food, and you can choose to
Yep.
do with it what you will, right? Also, like one of the things is that we're eternal beings, and I'm a huge fan of near-death experiences. I'm all over the map watching tons of those, and so
Cool.
you'll see like a lot of people when they leave their body, even if it's like temporary, they become whole. Like whatever ails them on this plane changes when they leave their body. So we know it's possible, and on some level, we're already whole. We're just remembering what that love is, right? We're just trying to remember here on this plane what the love is. And I think it's really hard sometimes, but I believe that's the secret to true healing is that love.
Well, and I know they did, testing in, you know, um, the Gaza Strip. The military did, 30 or 40 years ago, where they took psychics in and had them project love and joy and happiness. And all of a sudden, all the fighting stopped, and then they took them away and the fighting started again. So we can influence what's around us. I tell people, smile at everybody, be joyful, be happy. That raises our entire planet up in the energetic field. And I think we're in that phase now. We're transferring from, what was very, very negative. We're going through a lot of crazy stuff right now, but we're moving up in that energy. And you guys and all of your students are bringing that love in and raising all of us up. And I personally think that that's going to be what really transitions our species to another level of understanding. And we're all going to be able to look at each other and help each other to heal. But like you said, you're not actually healing the person, you're just guiding and helping the energy in the right way. So let's get into actually how quantum touch kind of works. And I don't want to go into too much detail because I'd rather have the people take the full course to really truly understand. But what are some of the basics that you guys teach, Jennifer?
Well, we teach people how to work with breathing, and we teach people how to work with energy awareness, and we teach
Mhm.
people all sorts of different techniques. Working with the chakras, how to feel different frequencies of energy, We also work with emotional healing. You know, one of the things that I've noticed sometimes is that you can do a lot of energy and the person may not be appearing to get any better sometimes, right? And so the big question is, well, why? And I believe that what I've seen is that sometimes people have these stuck emotions within their being that they haven't released. And so the emotional work that we do can help like move beyond those stuck patterns. And then we've been
Mhm.
experimenting with sharing our spiritual gifts with each other and also using life force energy to slow down or even reverse aging. And that's our latest work. And I think it actually works. I think you can perhaps slow down aging with love and high frequency and working with the energy. And all kinds of things improve. I use it personally for eyes. You know, I love to work on my eyes. Because I'm like 54, and sometimes like your vision can change at this age. So I work on my eyes a lot, so I don't have to wear glasses. So that's how I use it a lot. But also, just tapping into that expanded state of awareness. You don't really need psychedelics or any of that. You can do that on your own. And that's
Mhm.
what I like to use it for. You can kind of feel the cosmos and your connection to everything, working with that energy. So if you need messages from all that is, or your guides or whatever, you can use the energy to slow down enough and relax enough to kind of tap into those worlds. And so those are some of my uses, but a lot of people use it for pain, to start. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to use the energy or work with the energy.
Well, I love that you're using it on your eyes. I think maybe I should start too, because it's that or I have to go back and get a new set of glasses. These ones aren't working that well anymore. But there's so much we can do. Like using it on yourself is one of the core principles of healing, because face it, if you don't have your energy high, how can you help someone else bring their energy to that level? And that's one of the core things I found with quantum touch was through breath work, raising your vibration. And we talked a lot about energy, frequency, vibration on here, mainly for plants, but for humans it works the same way. Raising that vibration up, you're talking the self healing. So we have a lot of people that watch this that are injured, have issues, physically, mentally, emotionally. Now, you talked about the emotional side of it, and have you ever heard the term fascia?
Yeah, we did the myofascial release in massage school. Yeah,
Cool. Yeah, because
yeah.
that, as I understand it, is a lot of that mental, um, or can be part of that mental part and physical part. And it doesn't have to be even from this lifetime, it can be from past lifetimes that are affecting our present. And dealing with that, I think that's wonderful that you guys are working on that and dealing with those blockages. Now, have you ever used tuning forks? Because I know that there are people now that, by the use of tuning forks, are tuning into the auric field or the energy field, and actually can locate those like 10 feet away from a person where these blockages exist. Have you ran into that at all, Jennifer?
I haven't personally used tuning forks, and we don't really teach how to use tuning forks,
Okay.
but I'm sure that it's all just different frequencies, right? So we're just all working
Yeah.
with, like, let's call it frequency medicine, and whether you use like music, tuning forks, different devices, or just energy healing without different devices, like it all kind of brings us back to the same place, in my opinion, where we're just working with like different frequencies and like forgiveness. Let's look at forgiveness, for example. So we often think that forgiving someone is kind of letting them off the hook, and I think that's why people have a hard time with forgiveness, right? Like, oh, but
Yep.
they're now they're
Yep.
getting away with it, right? And really, what forgiveness is doing is it's removing that negative frequency from your energy field.
Yeah.
So forgiveness is actually so there so you no longer attract that issue. That's how I've noticed what forgiveness does. So it's actually for the collective, not just thinking someone can get away with it. So again, that's a frequency. You know, you forgive and you change your frequencies through forgiveness and
Mhm.
gratitude is another one that can increase your frequency or tuning forks or music. So I think it all kind of circles around the same type of concept.
Well, and you look at people like the wife and I do a lot of watching of different types of shows, and one of the things that we've found over the years is senior citizens that are non-responsive in nursing homes, and they put a headset and their favorite music on from, big band, etc., and all of a sudden they come alive, they become awake, they can have conversations again, and that frequency and the love they had for that music just brings them back to being normal and responsive again. So that's an energy, frequency, and vibration, and that's what you guys are really tuning into and drawing in and through yourself and helping to promote self healing. Now, I have to get into something else, and just give me a second, Jennifer, because we have a question. What do you think of bioceramics and their use in gardens? Have you heard of bioceramics, Jennifer?
I have not heard of bioceramics. No.
Okay, then I'll answer this one. My friend, you'll want to watch the Quatamoc Villa with Leighton Morrison. He talks a little bit about the bioceramics and the biochar, coating the biochar with the ceramic powder for the quenching of the biochar to help with the energy flow. So please, that's the next time we have Quatamoc on, he would be the perfect guy to answer more into that question. So sorry for that, Jennifer. It's kind of a little bit off topic, but I like to answer our audience's questions when I can. So let's get back into what you're seeing for the future for people doing healing and joining, not necessarily quantum touch, but the whole principle behind quantum touch, the energy work. Are you seeing that, or do you think that's going to be more prevalent in the future?
I believe we're headed that direction because right now the level of suffering is immense on planet
Mm-hmm.
Earth, right? And it's my vision that suffering is no longer a part of life. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe the only way out of suffering is that love, like connecting with that love and connecting with higher frequencies. And so I could envision a world where people are connecting on a loving level. There is no war, there's no starvation, there's no pain, there's no suffering. It's more about let's explore connection, let's explore love, let's explore joy, let's explore gratitude, and let's create a world that we love, right? That's based on love, that's based on following the heart. And then all this other stuff like war and hunger and pain and everything else like starts to diminish. So that's where I feel like the power of energy comes in.
Well, and I have to agree 199% on that. The higher we raise our personal frequency, the more that other people around us are affected. Like you're doing healing work, you're raising your frequency, affecting them, not healing them, but having them raise their own frequency up. And we can do that every single moment that we're awake, and even in our sleep. We can focus on that before we go to bed, is healing our planet. I don't heal individually anymore. I did that when I was like in my 20s, etc. Now I allow myself to give energy to my entire planet, my entire species, to raise us all up at the same time. But I have to love what you guys and all healers are doing using the energy to bring up the individual. You're saying that you guys are giving that love and that energy, that frequency, that vibration to raise individuals up. Are you guys doing group work at all? Have you found that, more than one person working on someone, is it any faster? Have you found that at all?
Oh, yeah, like a lot of our workshops have group work where we have more than just one person. And I believe and I've seen that when you have, more than one person working on someone, you just accelerate the healing even more.
Mhm.
And everyone has their flavor of love. So when you have five people working on you, they all contribute different frequencies, and like your body can like use that range of frequencies to facilitate healing. And also, I think when we do the energy healing, we there is no separation between, like, let's say you, me, or other people on the whole planet, right? So you are actually healing the planet when you do energy healing. And that's another thing I love about it, is that we're just so connected. There's no real separation. And I hope
Mhm.
it can be used to realize that, right? Because if there's no real separation, then I don't think we need war, because you're
Yep.
hurting yourself, right? So, yeah.
Well, if you've ever heard of quantum entanglement, it shows that there is no space, there is no time, there is no distance when it comes to energy and how the energy and the frequencies connect. So when you're bringing that group together and you're saying that it's like having different colors of light and different energy there, and yeah, it's meshing together, and the body's going to take exactly what it needs. Have you guys followed any of the research on the different frequency for the different organs in our body for optimal health?
I haven't really studied their research, but I do believe that, because when I do healing sessions,
Mhm.
oftentimes I'll get the message of this frequency is needed here. Right.
Mhm.
So then I work to generate that particular frequency. So using your intuition to say, all right, let's generate the frequency that it needs until it resonates, till you feel kind of this like, oh yeah, we got it. It feels very joyful when you kind of are offering the frequency that's requested. And I think that's kind of the future, where people can tune into different frequencies and help people that way. And that's what I love about it.
Well, I think that's absolutely amazing, Jennifer, because being able to tune into that, to feel their energy saying like, look, excuse me, you got the wrong tone. I don't need a C, I need a, a C sharp, and being able to change that through yourself, that makes you very, very special, Jennifer, because a lot of people can't even realize that there is that difference. So thank you for being as special as you are, Jennifer.
But I believe people can learn it the more you work
Hmm.
with energy. I think everyone can learn how to do that. And one of the things that maybe applying to plants here, could you imagine that the plants you nurture, like let's say you're growing a tree, that you are nurturing this plant. The plant is saying, okay, I'm going to offer this being fruit with the appropriate frequency for their healing, right? Because it's kind of a co-creative process. And that's
Yep.
what I've kind of noticed when the plants talk to me. It's saying, we're offering you these frequencies because this is your space, your garden. And that's really interesting. Like, there's an awareness, kind of an intelligence with plants and trees and kale. And yeah, I love it.
Well, they're showing now scientifically that plants actually have more sensory perception than we do. We only have the five senses, and they have like seven or eight. And this is like scientific white papers that are showing this. So people are finally starting to wake up to the reality that plants are as sentient as we are, or a cow, or a sheep, or a goat. It's all sentience on our planet. Now, I talk about it's all about the biology, and that's the physical representation of us or a plant or an animal. But on the energetic side, which I don't do a lot of talking about on this channel, because we focus more on the plant aspect, but that energy has to be there. If it doesn't, if it's not there, then your plant wilts and is dead. Without that energy, there is no life. It's just what's left of the building blocks. But when you're saying the plants are talking to you and saying like, hello, Jennifer, you need this kale because you're deficient in this, is that something that most people can recognize, or is that something you guys, really teach in quantum touch? Because that would be absolutely phenomenal.
So we don't really teach talking to plants, but here's the thing. When you start playing with energy and you start working with energy a lot, you start to get more sensitive to it, right?
Mhm.
And so let's say that you send your plant energy. So like you put your hands around it, like your plant's right here, and you're sending it energy. You could
Mhm.
even ask it, I would love a frequency that could help heal whatever issue that I'm dealing with. And the plant's like, sure, let me change my configuration to give you what you need, right? I mean, plants are like, to me, they're that intelligent. They're that
Yep.
spiritually intelligent that, like, if my orange tree is growing in orange, it might have certain frequencies that are not at the whole food oranges that are tailored to help, facilitate healing for like this neighborhood, right? I think it's that conscious and that intelligent. And so when you cultivate an ability to deal with energy, I believe then the energy becomes louder. It can speak to you. And so like if your plant needs water, it'll tell you. I have plants here and they say like I need water. And so I'm like, oh, sorry, and I give it water because it talks to me, right? And I think you cultivate that ability, or maybe it needs something while you're growing it, and you can
Mhm.
ask it, what do you need? And it'll answer. And that's one of the uses of energy that I love is it has information. So,
Well, and that's fantastic because, like, in this in the cannabis industry, I know a lot of the head growers can literally walk into a grow room, and they get that same impression from the plants, whether they need calcium or magnesium or more water. We can feel that if we allow ourselves to. A lot of people, and I'm sure you run into this all the times, Jennifer, is a lot of people are blocked from that understanding. And I guess it would be more of an allowing yourself to recognize that. Can you help people, to break through that? Is there something you guys, a methodology you use to help people to break through that blockage?
yeah, I mean, just taking, one of our workshops, just learning how to work with energy typically helps
Mm,
people break through because they do start to see the results of energy. And
mm,
that tends to calm the skepticism. I
mm.
think I think it's easy to be pretty skeptical right now, but I think when you start experimenting with it, you'll
Yeah.
eventually say, "Oh wow, there is something there." And one of the exercises I like to do is just this one. You breathe in between your hands. You can kind of start to feel that energy field a little bit. Just play with it a little bit, and
Mhm.
if you start to have this feeling of it, then how can you the skepticism will fall away, I believe, when you start to experience it. So,
Well, and I agree 100% on that. I like to tell people, have you, or ask people, have you ever walked into a room where two people were arguing and you could feel that energy? That's exactly the same thing as what we're talking about right now. That energy is there. And Jennifer, that breathing into your hands and creating that energy, that's a wonderful way for people to really get started where they can actually allow themselves to feel it. And it like you said, the skepticism's going to go away. It's like I tell people, if you aren't getting smacked in the side of the head with the 2x4, then it doesn't, you're not paying attention to it. But when you get that 2x4 to the head, you're going, oh well, this is real. Why haven't I never heard of this before? Jennifer, you have this amazing aura about you, and you're putting out this positive energy. Do you find that you attract negative people? Because I know there's a lot of people that are worried about energy vampires and things like that, people coming into their lives and sucking energy out of them. Have you found that that happens to you?
I actually believe and have experienced that the more that you work with the energy, the less likely you are to
Mm-hmm.
attract negativity. Because usually, um, if you're attracting negativity, there's something within yourself that's unhealed.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're working with the energy, you have now the ability to start healing these stories, these self assumptions, self judgments, unforgiveness. You have the ability to like recognize these things and heal them, and then you no longer need to attract an outside reality that mirrors them back to you. So that's why I believe that the energy work is really effective, because if, you don't need to attract those lessons anymore because you've already learned it. So
Well, I
that's what
think that the brighter that you shine, the more your energy shines. You know that the darkness can't come into the light; it can't handle the light. I have, and this has happened to me on numerous occasions walking down the street. I want to know if it's happened to you, or you'll see somebody coming towards you and they'll literally cross the street, walk by, and then recross and go into to a store behind you. Have you ever seen that happen, or have you ever noticed it happening?
I just noticed that the more that I work on my own self healing, the less I attract, let's say, thieves or really negative, scammers or all of
Mm-hmm.
that, right? Negative people, people who steal, or all of that seems to fall away as I heal within myself.
Mm-hmm.
What's not of the light.
Okay. Well, and it's so amazing because you can actually, not have to worry about, the negative people even interacting with you because you're putting out so much energy. They may be looking for your number in the phone book and skip right by you, knowing they're looking for you because they can't even see your name there because you're at such a high frequency. It's a different, almost a different dimension when you start to reach those levels. And I know that myself, I'm looking to reach the higher mental frequencies because that's where I should be. That's where all of humanity should be. We've been really held back in a lot of ways from being able to access that. And I think that quantum touch is one of the ways that we can break through those boundaries that have been set by, civilization, by our parents, by our grandparents, by the history of our planet, to block us from that. And I see more and more people stepping out of that darkness into the light and raising themselves up. You're doing that work, and you and Richard and your entire team have really made a vast difference for thousands or hundreds of thousands of people globally. Can you see a future or a near future where a lot of the negative is pushed out and the light is brought back in?
I do, because I feel like what's going on right now is a lot of this negativity is coming up to the surface. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like things are being uncovered that were hidden. And that's the first step. And then the next step is it transcends into the light. So, part of the healing process for a person is whatever is holding them back will come to the surface. That's why sometimes people have, like, let's say, detox reactions or other temporary healing crises, because the negativity is like going from a buried place up to the surface to be healed and released. And I think right now that's happening, on a planetary level. Like, all this negativity is like now visible, right? We can see it. And I believe the next step is it's going to be transcended. I think there's like kind of an awakening process going on right now.
Well, I have to agree with you on that because I see it a lot more and a lot more, throughout. 'Cause we have people that watch from around the world, and I see a lot of the people, or some of the people that were negative when they started watching us became subscribers. I've seen a difference in them and their energy and how they interact with other people, and it's just those slow incremental steps. It's like, when they say, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with that first step, and allowing yourself to think that this is possible, that this energy stuff isn't woo woo stuff. It actually is out there, and we can touch it, we can use it. And whether you're growing a plant or you're growing your wife, keeping your wife happy or your husband happy, your children, your grandparents, using this energy is something we can all do. And Jennifer, I want to send more and more people to Quantum Touch because you guys are opening up people's eyes and senses and understanding. So the best way I think would be to send them to the website, start. But do you think, like you guys have a YouTube channel, there's a lot of stuff on there. If your guys are not sure, check out some of the stuff on that YouTube channel. There's some amazing stories, and it goes back, the 20 years since YouTube basically started. But is you guys have Facebook, you have X, you have YouTube, and your website. What would be the best place do you think that a person would start to understand, and further to contact you guys?
Well, on our website, we actually have a free course meant to
Okay.
help people get started. Yeah, so if you go to quantumtouch.com and click on Get Started at the top, you can get access to a free course. It's like 2 hours of how to, like, some basic energy healing philosophy and a few exercises of working with energy just to get you started to see if you resonate. So that's where I recommend starting is take our free, video course and then go from there. If you resonate and you feel like there's something here, then the next phase after that is our level 1 workshop. But I
Hmm.
always like people, get started for free and try it out. So.
Well, and like Silly Lily says, Quantum Touch is very interesting. Like we got into it, like I said, 20 plus years ago, or because we have the revised edition, but it was printed in 2002. That's how long
Mm-hmm.
I've been in energy
That's
work, a long time. But you guys have been through the test of time, and do you guys have a lot of practitioners still from back then working around the world? Because I know you guys have like been around so long, around globally. Are there still a lot of people that started back then that are still doing Quantum Touch? Like, I know you started back then, and obviously you are as well. But what's your retention ratio?
We still have people, I was looking at our level 1 instructors the other day, and we still have
Mhm.
people from 2005 on our website that have been with us, I don't know, 20 years. One of my people that works for us in our office, 20-year anniversary. I work with some instructors right now as part of our staff. They've been, one of them's been here longer than I have. She started in 1999 and she's still teaching. She's still active. She's one of our main active instructors. So there's a lot of longevity to it. I'm amazed at just how long people have continued working with the energy. I mean, we're talking 20 years. That's it's quite incredible. And one of the things is that I love it so much. I've pretty much devoted my life to it. I mean, this is like what 23 years I think that I've been working for this company. So I love it. So I don't think I could imagine working anywhere else. So yeah.
Well, I think that a lot of the times, once you touch this and you really, start to understand it and bring it into yourself, you can't stop. It's like, huh, it's like, okay, I learned how to drive, but no, I'm not going to drive anymore because I don't want to do it. No, you're going to be driving until you can't drive anymore. That's the same with energy work. Once you deal with it, start to understand it, and you accept it in yourself. It's pretty hard to stop. You might be able to block it. Like I know, because I'm an empath and I could feel the pain of other people. I've really tried to block that off because I suffer enough. Okay. I actually became a truck driver so I didn't have to deal with crowds and deal with that anymore. But do you find that there's people that get scared of what's happening to them, and they want to stop? Um, I'm hoping that doesn't happen often, but I think it might. So, can you speak to that at all?
I haven't really encountered that where people get scared. I think
Yeah.
that maybe it could be a little scary to start to feel other dimensions because your idea of what's real starts to shift, and that could be a little scary, I think, for people. If we've been taught that the only reality is physical our whole life, and then all of a sudden you start to see into another dimension, and you're like, oh my gosh, what was that? But I think that again, you can just take baby steps of experimentation with energy and not try to just open up your entire field to the multidimensional universe all at once.
Yeah.
But I think children kind of naturally already do this, and then somehow as we grow, we're sort of trained out of it. Like I kind of wonder if like your imaginary friend as a child wasn't really an imaginary friend, right? Could be your guide, but or one of your guides. But so I think it's just like remembering, who we are. And I guess it could be the same way that maybe people fear death. Like, it's kind of a mystery, what happens after you die. And, you shift dimensions, and that could be a little scary. So it might be kind of a similar feeling. But I believe that because you're shifting into greater states of love, you can't really be afraid of love. I don't think, right? I think you're ultimately, I mean, hopefully not, right? I mean, because that's where
That's
you're
what I was going to
headed.
say. I hope you're not afraid of love. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. I think that love is ultimately the safest place to be. So perhaps just like trusting that love is actually real, I think is hard for people, but I think it is. So
Well, and I think that's part
yeah,
of it is a lot of people have never really understood love, and they don't understand that you can't love another until you love yourself. And to be able to do that, you've got to get rid of that past, that negative energy. And that's what you guys are helping with. That fascia that's, you know, bound to you needs to be released, and you need to deal with those negative energies, because how can you love somebody else if you don't love yourself? Because a lot of people in I don't want to phrase this the wrong way, but a lot of people think they're in love, but they're just there to try to accept love. They want to be loved. They don't understand how to love other people or how to love themselves. Like when you pass guys and you're on the other side and you're judging your existence from this body, it's not anybody else that said anything, done anything to you. It's only what you did, how you reacted, how you lived your life that is going to be judged. So judge yourself now when you're alive. Get rid of all that negative stuff that's built into you so that when you go, your karmic value is on the plus side. And Jennifer, I'm sure your karmic value is as high as Mount Everest. You and Robert, because you've been helping people for, you know, over 2 decades now. There's got to be this joy and happiness in your energy, in your spirit, in your soul, whatever you want to call it, that really reflects who you are when you meet other people. Do you see that when you walk into a room that, heads turn, and that the people feel your energy?
Hmm. To be honest, I haven't really focused on that. Like how other people react hasn't been an area of focus. I've been, oh, that's a good question. I think that I tend to have, I tend to feel everyone's energy, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so when you feel that, the natural inclination is to send them love, so it's almost kind of from a feeling level.
Mhm.
But so I think people are craving like love and connection and kind of, again, like adjusting whatever frequencies I'm putting out to read the room, I guess. But I haven't really thought about how people react necessarily. I think because I don't necessarily feel like that's separate, maybe.
Mhm.
I haven't really thought about that. That's a good question. I don't know, I think maybe I just don't feel that separate from other people. I don't
Okay,
know.
well, the
Yeah.
next time you and
Think
Robert
about,
are
yeah.
doing a chorus or something, you'll get in before Robert does, and then when Robert walks into the room, see how people react, because I think you're gonna notice that there's a definite when he walks in, there's a definite reaction to his energetic level. The same as with you, young lady. There's this, abundance of energy. But I bet you, when you go walking in the you know, outdoors in your environment, that you, or Richard, I keep saying Robert. Sorry, Richard. Don't give me heck later, okay? Look, my wife just came down and pointed it out. I'm saying the wrong name, but when you go out in nature, do you find that you see a lot more animals than other people would, or all of a sudden birds just come from nowhere to be around you?
Well, I have noticed that when you're putting out love, animals are attracted to it, right?
Hmm.
And so, I have it's like I moved into this house here in Maui, and like all the animals showed up. They do, right? Like I got
Yep.
birds, and I have a duck. A duck showed up, and then a couple cats showed up. And so now I have some pets, unintentional pets. I have a pet duck and a pet cat. So like, be careful too, because if animals are attracted to you, you might end up with a lot of pets that you never intended to have. That you end up feeding. So, anyways, yeah, I do believe animals are very sensitive to energy, and they want love too. And so they're really fun to do energy healing on because they're so receptive. And also, if you think about it, if you have a cat and that purr, the cat's purring has a certain frequency of energy. It can help facilitate healing for, the cat and the owner or facilitator of the cat. So that's one thing to notice too. Is I love doing the energy healing on the animals. They're just really receptive.
Well, we actually have a friend. She works a lot with people, but her main thing is horses. She works a lot with horses energetically. She does crystals, etc. Um, it's amazing how the animals just will walk up to her and want this, because they understand, they feel her energy and how positive it is. And Jennifer, I can't see anyone, you know, not walking up to you and saying, you just have this wonderful smile and aura, and what who are you? Why are you this way? Do you ever have that happen to you, where a complete stranger goes, who are you?
I have had that happen before. I think ultimately, I think people. That's people want love too, and it just is how can you help, and that's really the question. Yeah, it's going out into the world and just I notice like feel drawn to help a lot of homeless people right now. There's a lot of homeless people on Maui, and so just how can we help? And ultimately, I think that's the focus, right? And you can send people love and just being out about in the world, and yeah, yeah, that's,
Smile. Just everybody needs to smile, live in that joy and that happiness, because when you bring that smile onto your face, your energy goes up. And then when you're out, you can share that. Like, I don't know if I ever told this story about the person walking across a bridge and smiled at somebody that was walking towards them, acknowledged them, I, etc. And that person was there to commit suicide, and they ended up becoming a global speaker, telling the story of that smile changed their life. It saved their life, and it changed it for the better. That's how much power, energy, and a simple smile and acknowledgement can have for somebody else. And Jennifer, we're at an hour, and I'm pretty sure you probably have another appointment that you need to help out more people. But I so much appreciate your time and coming on and sharing your knowledge and your journey. And I'd love to get Richard on when he's got time. Uh, just for him to share some of the experiences that he's had. But we'll have to see in the future. But Jennifer, thank you so much. Do you have anything you'd like to say to finish up?
oh well, I just really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show, and yeah, I really thank you, really appreciate it, and I hope people can use the energy to help facilitate and improve their life, and that's why I'm here, and so I just appreciate the opportunity, so thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And guys, remember, free chorus, check it out. There's so much more that you can learn from working with that energy to work with your plants in your garden, etc. So don't hesitate. It's free. You can't lose with that, guys. Okay, guys. Um, I'll probably be not doing a show tomorrow. There is the show on Monday. Um, and I've Sam Baker is coming back on from Wiggle Brew with Leighton Morrison on the Soil Matters. So check that out. Enjoy your holiday weekend, guys. Jennifer, again, thank you so much.